Okay, there have been some unbelievable performances this season, Joe, so we thought it would be the perfect time to get our guests to get off the fence and pick their best player for every Premier League club. The rules are quite simple, but for those watching who haven't seen this before, Joe, just let us know how it's going to work.
Yeah, it's difficult, this one, isn't it? Because we've split it 10 clubs each. We'll go through, we'll flip-flop it, and you're going to tell us your reasoning why you think that player is that club's best player. Let's start with Arsenal. Yes.
So Lies has got the Arsenal pick.
Who are you going to pick for Arsenal?
First with Bukayo Saka. Now, I think with Arsenal over the last 2 or 3 seasons, there's kind of been a debate amongst a lot of people who is Arsenal's best player, because they do have a lot of quality guys. You look at Saliba and Gabriel have formed maybe the best centre-back partnership, or one of them in world football. Martin Odegaard has gotten a lot of praise as well due to his play, and Bukayo Saka is of course in those conversations. But I think this year, if it wasn't already pretty much a consensus, I think it has been with Bukayo Saka, because you look at the earlier part of the season when Odegaard missed a lot of time, and it almost felt like he was carrying the burden and keeping Arsenal at a really, really good level. And I do feel that since he's been out, Arsenal, to be fair, haven't dropped as many points as I probably would have thought, but I think they are a lot more predictable. I think the chance creation without him isn't at the highest level it could be. The threat he poses on set pieces as well, too. I do think he's the player in that team with the most match-winning ability, and I think he is Arsenal's best player. Most
assists and chances created of any player for Arsenal this season. And bear in mind, he's been out since Christmas.
Yeah. And you know what it is with him, too? He's beginning to have this inevitability whenever he cuts in on that left foot that something is going to happen, whether he plays someone through, beats a man, scores a goal.
Just quickly, this is obviously one of Lias's picks. We'll come to yours in a bit. Would you have had Saka?
Yeah,
this one?
100%. I think he's shown that this season, and previously where it was kind of close between him and Odegaard. I feel like both their injuries, you've kind of seen the reaction of the team and the impact it's had on their playing style. I think you can feel Saka's absence.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. Top player. So let's go to the next team, which is Aston Villa. This is Fuad's pick. Now, Fuad, this was a late change for you, wasn't it? A Friday night change. So tell us what happened.
Because for me, I think it's very easy to look at Aston Villa and think, you know what, Morgan Rogers, hat-trick in the Champions League against Celtic, scoring goals against City, Spurs, and then you've got Watkins, who's obviously been popping up with goals recently. But I feel like Tielemans is that model of consistency that's going under the radar, in my opinion. As I said, you've had those guys. You've had Onana getting moments. You've had Kamara since he's come in getting a lot of shouts. But I feel like he's been so good, it's almost just been normalised in that aspect. I think technically we've always known how good he is, but the improvements off the ball and defensively, I think since coming into this Villa team, and when he came in, you got to remember how stacked that midfield was. I didn't think he would be getting a lot of playing time. But he's one of the first names on the team sheet every week in my opinion.
I know what you mean. It's a good shout. Players of his position that play there, it's quite easy to go under the radar because of you're not scoring goals or getting assists every week. But actually what they do to knit the team together is so important.
Let's get him up.
However, Morgan Rogers, I mean, we've got to have a quick shout about him because he has been brilliant this season, hasn't he?
He was one of my predicted breakout stars at the start of the season, but I don't think even I could have predicted how devastating he's been in his first... Because this is his first full Premier League season. He's doing it in the Champions League, but it just seems like any midfield he kind of comes up against, he's able to physically dominate them. He looks so good on the ball. He's adding goals and assists to his game. I think Morgan Rogers, seriously, his potential is sky high. But Tielemans is a brilliant player.
Let's get him up. Bournemouth, again, another team that is absolutely stacked with quality players.
Honestly, they got a lot of players.
Pillaged in the summer.
I think they very well could be, but I think this is, for me, maybe the pick of the lot. I think it's up for debate for sure because Dean Huijsen has just been a revelation since he's come in.
I was going to shout him up.
Otara, Ryan Christie. He's one of the most underrated. Kirk is one of the best in this position. But I think Semenyo, in my opinion, kind of provides the most match-winning ability. I personally think so. I think you're looking at one of the premier players in this position. And I think we're talking about all these players if they were available. I think you would have every single team in the Premier League who's looking for a wing option or even someone who can play up front as well, too. I think he kind of has a little bit of everything. I'm a big fan of Semenyo.
Do you know what I like about Semenyo is that a lot of wingers you see nowadays turn him back. Like, Semenyo wants to get in the box
direct.
and shoot. I think only Salah and Haaland have taken more shots than him in the Premier League this season. And he's playing for Bournemouth. Just get direct, get in front of goal. That's what I like about him so much.
I do think on Bournemouth, though, your point of a lot of clubs been for Semenyo, I think Dean Howson, that the same argument applies to him in terms of the level that he's putting up this season.
£50 million clause.
And the clause, and the amount of clubs that are needing a player, a defender in that position. I think that a lot of what you said applies to Dean Howson as well. So, good shout, but tough on Bournemouth. Let's move to the next club, which is Brentford.
I have gone for Brian Mbeumo, and this was a tough one because I feel like Wissa is almost neck and neck with him. Every week they kind of decide who wants to be Brentford's all-time top goal scorer. But I think since Ivan Toney's left, the way he has taken the mantle and kind of the leadership of this attack, I have to give massive credit. And you talk about Semenyo there being potential suitors in the summer. I will be surprised if there aren't huge suitors coming in for
See his
him.
goal yesterday.
Because the goals that he's scoring, 15 goals I think it is this season, 4 assists as well in the Premier League. It's just, he's putting down the numbers, he's putting down the consistency, and he's dragging this team in moments when they need someone to dig them out. So for me, he's been massive for them.
I think that's an interesting point you make about when Tony left. Obviously, it was such a team for so long where everything was about Ivan Toney. Everything was about Ivan Toney for Brentford, and there were so many clubs linked with him. He did finally move, and it feels like Mbeumo and Visser have stepped up even more in Ivan Toney's absence. And they're going to both overtake him in terms of Premier League goal involvements anyway. Eventually, one of them already has. So I mean, is that credit to how well they've been coached as well under Thomas Frank?
1,000%. I think people even forget that when Brentford were in the Championship he was with them in the Championship, but before they brought Ivan Toney in, they had Watkins, and they had Benrahma, and they were playing more of a fluid style, and it was really because of Ivan Toney that they transitioned into, let's have a focal point up front. But this has kind of been a return to that old style, and I think Brentford have been a much more fluid attacking team, and those two have reaped the rewards. But I actually disagree. I don't think it's actually close. I think he is their best player by a good distance.
I think a quick shout out though as well to Damsgaard. Damsgaard's won Brentford's last 4 Player of the Month awards in a row. Like, I know that the goals aren't there that Mbeumo and Visser have, but as an all-round player on the ball, his ability to link play and get in between the lines, I think technically he might be Brentford's best player.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, next up, Brighton. That is one of yours, Lias.
Yeah, I went with Baleba.
Yeah.
Now, I was kind of stuck between a few guys. I think Mitoma's a really, really good player, and
that touch.
Yeah, it's
that goal.
Touch of silk, man.
Oh my word!
Incredible. And if you believe the reports, he almost went for 90 million in January, which is just ridiculous. But I think this guy's an absolute superstar in the making. We talk about the big name players that Brighton have sold in the last few windows for huge amounts of money, the biggest one being Moises Caicedo. With all due respect to all of them, I actually think he has the potential to be the best of the lot if he eventually leaves Brighton.
Of any player they've sold?
Yeah, I think he has the potential, because I just look at the way this guy's able to break up play, carry the ball, take on players. It almost feels like there are no real weaknesses in his game, or especially that'll be the case when he's kind of at his absolute best. I think Caicedo is great. I think he could be even better.
I think that's so true, and the way he's kind of taken the midfield by storm this season, he can walk into a lot of teams.
He has the best one-on-one tackle success rate in the Premier League this season of any player.
Okay, let's go to Chelsea.
I think of dominance when I think of him.
Chelsea, I think it's a pretty straightforward one in my opinion, and that's
this
Cole
one.
Palmer. I think he is essentially the entire attack. I think you've seen this season moments where Jackson has been inconsistent, Sancho and Neto haven't really been reliable, but with him, 14 goals I think this season so far,
and 6 assists
as well. So anytime Chelsea have looked good, Palmer's been at the centre point of it.
Things to tap in. Since the start of last season, by the way, 20 more this is. 20 more Premier League goal involvements than any other Chelsea player.
Crazy.
I think Chelsea's project looks a lot better because of Cole Palmer, by the way, because they've spent a lot of money, and I think he's probably one of the only ones that I think has really validated that price tag.
I think Caicedo's been good this season.
Yeah, him as well too, but Palmer is keeping this team afloat.
Let's do Palace, because this is an interesting one. We were shouting out a tougher one to do, but you've gone with Mateta, so explain why you've gone for that man.
I mean, I think most people would have probably kind of thought Eze before anything.
I was going to shout Gahey out.
Yeah, he's very good as well.
Palace
have some very talented players. I was thinking between Eze and Mateta. Maybe that's more attacking bias, but I do think Eze for the last 6 months, I don't think has been at his absolute best level. And I actually think post Olise, I was maybe expecting more of a leap from him in terms of responsibility, which I don't think I've really gotten. But this guy, I feel since Glasner came in and took over last season, has been one of the revelations in the Premier League. It's similar, to be fair, to what's happening with Beto under David Moyes, a guy that before Glasner came in, we really had no hope for him. It looked like he was, with all due respect, one of the weaker strikers in the league. But since he's come in, this guy's an absolute menace up front. He's physically dominating.
Isn't it?
Yeah, scores goals. Yeah,
11 goals in 80 in the Premier League before Glasner came in. 24 goals in 38 under Glasner.
That's a stat for you right there, man.
Unreal.
Wow. Impressive, honestly. And we saw the second half of last season, how he stepped up and started this season. It wasn't a great start, but the way he's kind of picked up now, incredible.
Get him up. I think you shout out Dean Henderson as well, who I think has had an unbelievably underrated season at Palace in goal. I mean, he's such a good, strong goalkeeper this season.
For Everton, I've gone for Iliman Ndiaye, and I think this is a pretty straightforward one as well. When you look at the Everton team, I feel like there's a lot of physical players, guys who are typical to the Sean Dyche playing style, and if you like, David Moyes playing style, but he is that one player that's that little bit X factor, can offer you that little bit of magic on the ball. I think we've seen him score some incredible goals. The one versus City this season was incredible.
Spurs.
Right foot, left foot, against Spurs as well. Can kind of pick up those half spaces where you can kind of really get creative, and just a different type of player in that Everton team to what they have in the rest of the squad.
You shout out a goalie. I think we should shout out Pickford as well for Everton as well. I think he's definitely someone that deserves a mention, but I think that's a good shout.
Fulham?
I've gone for Alex Iwobi. I think this guy is just the picture of consistency. Honestly, I don't think you ever get below a 7 out of 10 from Alex Iwobi, which, in my opinion, is really nice to see, but also a little surprising, because I remember when he left Everton at the time, I was kind of thinking, is this guy's career kind of like in limbo a little? Like, I felt at Everton, I sometimes struggled, what's his role, what's his best position? But at Fulham, I feel like his game has just gone up another level. And I look at Fulham, and I don't think they can tick without him. I think he's so crucial for them in midfield. He pops up with goals, plays people through. I think he's honestly, like, I can't remember the last time I've seen Alex Iwobi play better.
His maturity levels since his last season at Everton, and you thought coming to Fulham, fresh start, is it going to be the same? He's just taken on another level, honestly. And the way he's almost like big bro to the guys like Smith Rowe, Nelson, and they've all come from Arsenal. He's incredible.
Do we chat out Anthony Robinson here as well? Because if we're looking at best players in their positions in the Premier League, Anthony Robinson's got to be right up there.
10
assists already, a decent shout. But in terms of how important he is for that Fulham team, surely we've got to talk about him.
Stick Alex up, though. Stick Alex up.
Him and Joachim Anderson as well.
I'm taking 2 assists off what's his name, by the way, Anthony Robinson. We know those 2 against, what was it, West Ham? Shaky ones, I can't dubious.
Next up, Ipswich, that was your one. Yes. Again, is this quite a straightforward one for you?
This is a straightforward one. This is the next superstar striker making in the Premier League. I think he is a special player, in my opinion. He's got the right profile of the modern-day centre-forward, can hold up play, can link play, and the strike that he has on him in terms of shooting the ball, special, honestly, and I'm excited to see where he goes if Ipswich do end up getting relegated this season, because he's got all the tools.
I totally agree, mate. I think
get him up.
He's a serious player that we're going to talk about in a few years' time. I think only Chris Wood has scored a high percentage of team goals as well.
Don't be surprised if he makes a big move, World Cup outside shout, maybe.
I said this numerous times. I think you look at maybe the potential Kane replacement long term. I think he'd be in the reckoning.
Perfect profile.
Okay, next up. Leicester. Tough on this run, really.
There's not much to pick from. I think Leicester are having a really bad season this year. But I've been really impressed by El Khanous every time I've watched him. He seems to have a little bit of magic, a little bit of maverick to him, in a team that they're defensive-minded. They like to play on the break, but I feel like he's one of the few guys they have that can really unlock a defense. And we've seen him at times this year, El Khanous, really come up with moments of absolute brilliance. It's just very tough to do it consistently for a team like Leicester, but I've gone with him.
Okay, stick him up. Right, let's move on to, you might need a hand with the whiteboard positioning. Top work, Fuad. Move on to Liverpool.
I think this
Flying high
one's...
at the top of the league.
On my left, I thought that was Darwin Núñez. I swear I thought that was Darwin
Don't joke with that one. Don't joke with that one. Not after midweek as well. Mohamed Salah, there is no way. He's on a Ballon d'Or run at the moment. I think 24 goals, 15 assists also, if not more.
Incredible.
He's broken the record for the number of goals expected, I think, before Christmas. But he's just one of those players, I just feel like we talk about consistency with some of these other players. He's been doing this for years now. Since he's come into the Premier League, he has not had a season off. And I just feel like you can like it, you can hate it, but you're damn well going to respect it. That's Mo Salah.
You're right about this. Everyone's talking about the goals and the fact where he is for the Golden Boot, 24, but 15 assists at this stage of the season.
He's going to take that record off on
incredible.
Yeah,
2020,
if he doesn't get 5 more,
5 more assists.
To be fair, the assist record is cursed, man. Every time we think someone's going to get it, something happens.
KDB got close.
Ozil got close. But for 2020, to actually hit both the goals and the assists, I think he's going to
I think he should, for sure.
Next up, Manchester City.
I've gone for Erling Haaland. I think over the last 6-7 years, this would have been Kevin De Bruyne, no-brainer. But I do think Father Time is starting to catch up to him. I think I look at him this season, and the legs, the explosion that he kind of had in his game is starting to dwindle, whether it's the injuries or the age. And I think that leaves Erling Haaland as kind of the prime candidate here. Maybe a year ago, I would have liked to see Phil Foden kind of like maintain his spot here. Rodri, of course, was incredible last season. But I think, although for his own standards, it's not his greatest year, Erling Haaland, because his standards are so lofty, he still maintained a pretty good level all year, even though the team has struggled around him.
I think it was pretty telling midweek, wasn't it, against Madrid, when they didn't have Haaland as that main focal point. It was such a big difference. It was so vast.
Does Guardiola maybe deserve an outside shout?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
He's had a good season, Guardiola.
I'm trying to get some defenders in there, you know.
We're talking about the best striker in the world.
Go on, stick him up. Next up now, Fuad, you've gone for Man United, obviously Lias's team.
Yes.
So who have you picked as their best player? And I want to get your critique on this.
I think he might agree with this one.
Lias.
I've gone for Amad Diallo, someone who I think some people might say Bruno Fernandes, and I do think, look, if you did say Bruno, I wouldn't be mad at it, but over the past 12 months, I feel like in the big moments, in terms of every time I've seen him play,
City game.
you never see under an 8 out of 10. The FA Cup semi-final against Liverpool this season, again, it's just every time he's on the ball, you just feel like something's going to happen. Bit of magic, bit of creativity, a goal. He's always willing to do something to kind of break the game, and I love players like this.
Yes, who would you have gone for?
He's my favorite player at Man United. And to be fair, there's not many to pick from, but I love this guy, man. He plays positive, he plays direct, he's tricky. Yeah, he's got personality to him. I don't think you can say that about a lot of players in the squad at the moment. Like, I agree with what he said about Bruno. I think Bruno, over the last few years, has been the consistent figure at United in terms of numbers and influence, but I think this year, he's been our best player for sure.
Yep, agreed. Okay, it's Newcastle. This feels like one of the bigger tap-ins.
Yeah, this is the easiest one
they've got
on
some
the list,
amazing players.
For sure, but this is the pick of the lot, man. I mean, you even look at him last season as well, too. When he kind of got himself fit and in the team consistently, in terms of putting those injury problems to the side, he couldn't stop scoring. He's carried that form into this year, but more so than just that, it's his general play as well, too.
Yeah.
He's so good at holding up the ball, drifting out wide, taking guys on, playing players through, and then the goals on top of it. This guy's unbelievable.
Also, the quality of goals he scores. Even not the goal that he scored, but the work that he did in Newcastle's first goal against Arsenal in the League Cup.
Incredible.
Body in front of Saliba, checking off, turning, whipping one from 40 yards off the post. It's just like, it feels like he's got everything to his game.
Everything,
and the money that I think you'd need to price him out of Newcastle is...
I don't think
his rate of goal scoring is seriously underrated.
Yeah.
If he scores, I think, 2 in his next 3 games, he'll be like the 7th fastest player in Premier League history.
It wouldn't surprise me. I feel like injuries have always held him back, and now you're getting that first full season without injuries, and you're seeing the real version of Alexander Isak.
He's got 48 goals in his Premier League career in 75 appearances, but only 67 of them are starts. So, I mean, numbers-wise.
Do you think he's the best player Newcastle have had since Shearer?
Oof. In terms of goals,
I think just in terms of quality, man.
Yeah. You could argue it for sure. I think Bruno G is definitely up there. I can't lie. Bruno
Newcastle
G.
fans, get in the comments, let us know.
I love me some Bruno G, I can't lie.
Nottingham Forest. Now, again, another flip-flop for you last night. What I love about this, Fred, just thinking long and hard.
On a Friday night, man. Come on.
I'm thinking,
and you got rid of one Morgan Rogers. You've got rid of another Morgan.
Morgan gives light, unfortunately. I had to call up the big man, Chris Wood. There's no way you can ignore his performances over the past 12 months. I think looking like he was basically finished at Newcastle to looking like an entirely new man at Nottingham Forest. Some of the goals he's scoring, the left foot finishes, headers, right foot, he can do it all, it seems like, at the moment. And listen, I know he's getting up there in age, so he might not get many more opportunities to kind of get his name shouted out. So I thought I'd give him his flowers today for sure. Yeah,
do you know what it is about Chris Wood as well? It's a bit underrated consistency across his career. The amount of times he scored 10-plus goals in the Premier League season, be it at Forest, be it at Burnley. Like, so impressive. And I know it didn't quite work out at Newcastle. But I think that was mainly down to the fact
it did work out. They bought him basically to relegate Burnley, and it worked.
But like, he has been like archetypal of that.
Yeah, I feel he's been underrated for many years.
He kind of epitomises the whole club, what they're going through at the moment. Those kind of underdogs really leading the charge.
Okay, next up, Southampton. That is one of yours, Lias. Who you gone with?
Again, not too much to choose from. Maybe I shock you guys. I think a lot of people would have probably thought Tyler Dibble.
Yeah, I thought you got Tyler
because that kid is very promising, exciting. He's been linked to United, which maybe for his own sake, he probably should ignore that one. But this guy right here, I actually think makes Southampton tick. I would say he's probably their best player this season.
Okay, stick him up.
Fernandes.
Fuad. Tottenham, the mighty Tottenham Hotspur, your beloved team.
I think this is quite easy.
Yeah, it is. But you know what? I think Jed Spence deserves an honourable mention for sure. I think the past 2-3 months he has been incredible. But Dejan Kulusevski has been the one needle mover for us this season. Anything good that has come from Tottenham this season has come through him. The creativity, playing in a different role. I feel like just that X factor he's been able to bring to our game.
Where do you like him playing?
I like him playing centre mid, I can't lie. Although I do feel like we lack such depth in the wing areas, I do like him there as well, but I think we've seen his best version of himself back in central midfield.
Do you just think his legs aren't going to be there across the whole season to play in that midfield?
That's my concern, because the minutes he's played so far is basically a full season already, a 38-game full season. So I'm a little bit worried about that, but if there's someone who can actually play on, it's this guy. He looks like a Duracell machine.
As a fellow Spursman, I'd agree. Shout out Archie Gray and Bergvall as well for
Definitely.
what they've had to do this season, stepping out of position.
At their age as well.
At their age, yes. Shout them
Incredible.
out.
But it is Decky, isn't it?
It is Decky, yes, I agree.
Okay, West Ham.
I don't know why you said it like that. There's a lot of players I maybe prefer watching at West Ham. I love Kudus, honestly. I love the way he plays, even though I think this season has been his best. I think Paqueta's such a joy to watch when he's on full display, but he's just the consistent guy year in, year out, whether West Ham are flying, whether West Ham are struggling. He's the reliable one. He's the one who's giving you 10-plus goals a season from wide positions. It might not be the prettiest all the time, but I think he's just so effective.
Do you think West Ham fans won't like me saying this, obviously, because he's loved there and he is, as you've quite rightly said, their most important player. Do you think in the summer you'll see a few clubs coming in for him?
He's one of those players. I want to see him at West Ham till he retires. Go out there and try and be their all-time goal scorer. Go and break Antonio's record. He has that kind of relationship with the West Ham fans as well. I feel like his underdog story coming from the Championship with Hull as well, coming to the Premier League, he's taken to it like a duck to water. And I think, don't try and think you can do I'm going to go Liverpool or Spurs. No, West Ham, drag them up.
Stay loyal.
I love that.
I like
He's also under a contract till like 2030.
Yes, I know. That's why I asked. It's going to be a
You ain't going nowhere, man.
Next up, now I'm going to call this. I think this is the biggest tap-in of all 20 Wolverhampton Wanderers. Would you agree? Was this?
Yeah, this was easy. Didn't even have to think far. The goal last week, the left foot streamer from the edge of the box. This guy, you got to remember when he came in as well. He came in from Atletico, where a move hadn't really worked out. Joined on loan, and they were essentially forced to sign him because they just played him the number of games. But the way he's paid back that fee and the levels he's stepped up every single season as well. He signed a new contract, but don't be surprised if suitors are still after him.
Well, it's
in
got
the
a release
summer.
clause. I saw Fabrizio tweeting that it has a release clause in it of about.
That's one. We know how those contracts work, man. You sign it, keep them up, gone.
It's just
Where do you think he leaves in the
protecting
summer?
their asset, but I think
Where do
quality
you think
player.
he goes in the summer if he goes to go?
I would be honest, I think someone like a United or an Arsenal should
Arsenal
absolutely break
them,
the bank to get him. He is someone who is ready-made, already proven himself in the Premier League. Go and give Gabriel Martinelli a run for his money.
I also think if you look at all these players, I mean, there's some great shouts here, I have to say, but a lot of them, they're quite tough. There's a couple of the names that we've shouted out. I think Wolves, he is so head and shoulders above every player.
He's played at such a good level this season.
Any that you changed, lads, on the alternative picks? Obviously, you did 10 each. Any that you...
Maybe Forrest, I would have gone for Gibbs White.
Okay.
I think Gibbs White's tremendous. But Chris Wood, on evidence of the season...
He's the heartbeat of the team, I understand it, but I think his goals are difficult to ignore. He's the one that's driving him up the league this season. So, honestly, I'm happy with my picks.
Happy with it? Okay, well, there is confirmation. Let's give you a reminder of all 20 that Fuad and Yas have picked.